U.S. Speaker Mike Johnson saying the notion of church-state separation in the U.S. was a, quote, misnomer. So let me just be honest with you guys. This is all cope. Why do I say it's cope? The reason I say it's cope is because the U.S., from its inception, was ideologically formed in such a way when it came to its reasoning between the relationship between natural reason and revelation as to completely leave natural reason unguarded. So what we have today is just the fruit, the vital fruit of what was already present in the founding of America. So what I mean by this is basically, and St. Thomas talks about this in a number of places, when it comes to the natural truths of religion, so even while in principle we have the faculties, so it's physically possible for a man to, by reasoning from nature, know that adultery is wrong, or know that fornication is wrong, or know that he ought to pray, or know that there is one God. In principle, this is possible. We have to affirm this. It's dogmatic that we affirm this. From the light of nature, we're able to know these things. But in practice, so not physically possible, but morally possible, in practice, it is morally impossible that an individual throughout his life, even if he's very brilliant, even after a long time, even after a lot of work, without divine revelation, that he guard natural truth due to the effects of the fall. So that's the teaching, actually, of Humani Generis. This is something you have to hold to. And I think this is all, some argue this is the teaching of Vatican I as well. So basically, scripture and tradition and the magisterium not only promulgate supernatural truths, but also by their higher authority guards and directs lower sciences. So you can't have an ethics which is completely devoid and separated from moral theology. You can't have a theodicy, which is natural theology. You can't have a theodicy which is separated from sacred theology. You can't have all of these lower sciences without being protected and guarded and led by sacred theology, ultimately by revelation. So in principle, these things could be separated. But in practice, due to the effects of the fall, these things must be held together. In order to have a just society, you need Catholic truth to be preached. You need this to be to lead and guard those natural truths. So at the inception of America, basically what happened is you had them assume what they had received from divine revelation was something that they reasoned to from nature. So when America started, they assumed, everybody knows that divorce is wrong. Everybody knows that this is wrong. Everybody knows that that is wrong. Everybody knows that you shouldn't be gay or whatever. Everybody knows these things, Everybody knows that, from nature, the male and female and blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows these things. So what they did is they said, look, we personally, and everybody around us personally, is going to assent unto divine revelation. We personally do it. I mean, some of them didn't. Some of them basically, took it as a sort of exalted form of natural religion. But anyways, say we assent to all these truths, but we do not need the authority of divine revelation and the authority of the church. We do not need these things in order to retain these natural truths. So while practically speaking, we could say they were basically the same as a lot of European countries when it came to particular moral issues. We could say they were basically the same. So they were basically the same as England. We could say practically speaking, they were basically the same. But in principle, they had changed. Because before, we knew, because of the fallenness of man, we needed these things to guard and lead and guide our natural reason, which, while in principle might come to the truth, in practice wasn't going to. But in the New World, they switched it around. They assumed that our natural reason could come to these things. So they said, well, we don't need divine revelation to guard these things because We all know this is true from natural reason, but they didn't recognize this stuff was actually they only saw it as true from natural reason due to the all of this time of Christian truth coming through and pervading and redeeming a lot of the cultural elements. They had been inheritors of this very long tradition, and they brought that in and assumed, no, I actually came up with this. This is actually clear and obvious to me, and I know this from nature. But, a few decades later, even a few decades, actually, even sometimes less than that with some issues. But let's just say a few decades later, there's actually some people who don't assume that. They don't think this way. They actually either interpret divine revelation differently or they don't even hold the divine revelation. So what do you do then? What do you do? Well, you could argue, from natural reason, maybe that works. But what happens when a lot of these things basically become populist? Now you're tracking with me. What happens when a lot of these things basically become up to the sort of choice of the people? You have all of these individuals who are swayed by this or that, demagogue, basically. What happens with these decisions? Well, what happens is when you have as unstable as a governmental style as America has. So yeah, our judiciary with our judges can make the difficult decisions. Do you think senators, representatives, think they're going to make difficult decisions? Governors, presidents? No. So before, where if you had people that were there the entire time, they could actually argue about these things. Now you just can't do it. So over time, these things became less obvious first amongst the people because they were uneducated. So it's not as you can't really reason with them a lot. You can't reason with the people a lot. So their passions just drawn them to these certain things where they're like, well, I actually don't think that's obvious. I actually don't see this and I don't see that. So when you have people that go and question this, you have evil actors who capitalize on this. And all of this is because you don't have that guardian of divine revelation. So basically what you have is you don't have the true freedom that comes with being able to properly understand natural reasoning, natural law. You don't have the guardian of the ecclesiastical magisterium, of scripture and tradition. You don't have those guardians. So what do you become a slave of? You either become a slave of the sort of common will of the people, or you just basically become a slave of your own passions, or you're just own your own stupid, I'll be nice, stupid reasonings. So they can say this all they want. They can quote St. Thomas all they want in their court decisions, but until they have the same principles as St. Thomas when it comes to the relationship between revelation and reason, it's useless. And it's never going to do anything. It's so over when it comes to like even Catholic political, philosopher types can't understand this. They can't get it through their thick, stupid heads. No, actually, original sin affects people. So it is morally necessary, and this is the language of Humani Generis. It is morally necessary for the understanding of even the natural law to have divine revelation. So no, actually, you can't just go and like play buddy buddy with like atheists and secular analytic philosophers. No, their minds are corrupted by original sin, so they can't understand through their corrupted reasonings what you're saying in their entirety. They make it a sliver, and maybe after a long time, but it's going to be even then in a corrupted manner. This is the teaching of St. Thomas. This is the teaching of the Catholic Church. Hold to it or leave. And this just comes from a sort of attitude of novelty. Because if you've ever read a serious treatment of divine revelation, or if you've even just read beyond like the first page of the Summa or Summa Contra Gentiles, they both talk about this. If you read this, you understand this, it changes the way that you think about political philosophy. It changes the way that you think about what are the type of moves that we need to make in order to do things like get abortion illegal. or to turn back a Bergefell or do all of these things. What are the particular moves we need to make in order to get crap done? For them, it's some I don't even know how to describe it. It's some fun discussions, I guess if you want to put it like that. It's some fun discussions with, uh, atheistic or, mere Christian or Muslim or Jewish or whatever analytic philosophers. It's basically like, oh, we're going to go into dialogue with these other guys. We go into dialogue. And like once we dialogue a lot, once we have a lot of discussions with them, eventually they'll stop wanting to kill babies. Like, are you kidding me, bro? We're going to talk to them a lot and they're going to want to stop killing babies. Is that really, really what you think is going to happen? No. In order to get our political ends, we need to convert everyone. You hear me? We need people to bend the knee to divine revelation. That's the goal. How does this happen? You see all those fun, representatives and governors and all of those people, either make them Catholics or elect Catholics. We need the people who are in positions of leadership, both culturally and politically, in these areas. We need to make them Catholic. Make them all Catholic. Inshallah, convert the entire world. That's the only way you're going to get about this. Like, I don't know. They always talk about like, oh, we need this like just society where, I saw like Father Rooney or something talking about Father Creed saying like, oh, he doesn't think he can vote and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. Maybe that's actually not a terrible idea. That we not allow certain people who don't follow divine revelation to vote because, as I said, they have certain corrupted apprehensions of natural reason. Maybe this isn't the worst idea in the world. Maybe it's actually a good idea. I'm just spitballing here, but maybe it's a good idea. And this is just when you read good books and you work from good principles, this stuff makes sense. It all makes sense. So no, we're actually not going to be able to dialogue ourselves into a just society. That's not going to work. I know it's not going to work. We know from the most certain principles of natural reason and of divine revelation that your ideas are stupid, that your practical action is worthless. You're wasting your entire lives doing stupid things that won't work. The 20 people that read those stupid symposium books that you put out that nobody likes and nobody's interested in, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Stop doing these things. We know it doesn't work. Why would it work? Why would it make sense that these types of political action work? They don't work. We need true and proper Catholic action that is meant to go out there and say, no, you guys, actually, I'm not going to just treat you like sort of either a useful idiot or pretend somehow that we're like on an equal playing field right here. Like, hey guys, we're on an equal playing field. Like, yeah, I know that you're, a blasphemer, a heretic, or whatever, but no, we're on an equal playing field. Yeah, I know you think like sodomy is okay. Yeah, I know you think that, IVF is okay. Yeah, I know that you think this is okay. But like, we're on an equal playing field here. No, we're not. We're actually not. We're actually not. It's not because anything, in and of ourselves. It's not like we're somehow outside of grace have a moral superiority to ourselves. No, it's because God has made his church. God has made his church. This is obvious. God has revealed unto men these things in order to help us because of how short we fall. This is why he gave us the church in the first place. Like, what do you think the church in divine revelation has to offer to societies? Like, you think we're like a cool little social club within the societies? No, we are supposed to take them over. They are supposed to be ours. We're supposed to go in and say, look, Christ died and he has inherited, he has inherited all nations. He's the King of Kings. We look in Psalm 2, kiss the Son lest he be angry, you kings of the world. We're supposed to say, no, this country, this country, this country, this country, that is Jesus's, that is Jesus's, that is Jesus's, that right there is Jesus's. And he's angry with you because you are not accepting what his church preaches to you. So you need to accept divine revelation and rule likewise. Because otherwise, we know, and we can see this through history. I mean, I don't know how these people, I don't know how these people look into history, look into the histories of peoples, and say, like, actually, the Catholic view on natural law, natural reason, and natural revelation is actually that basically everybody's equal. Are you serious? Have you seen a single society? It's hard to find a single society that's even monotheistic. One of the most obvious truths of natural religion, that God is one. And the ones that are stole it from us. So are you serious? You think this is what our teaching on natural law, natural revelation, and natural theology means? That's just easy for everybody? No. We have a vocation and we have a mission to teach these people. Like, what do you think we're supposed to do? What do you think we're supposed to do? And I'm tired of all of these like anti-integralists, all these anti-integralist, Catholic philosophers and theologians, putting in their pipe and putting in their monocle and tweed on, trying to say, like, no, we actually need to come into dialogue with them, blah, 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 blah. No, we don't need to come into dialogue with them. We need to convert them. Do you not understand? These people are blind. They can't see anything. And you're like, let's do this vision test together. What, are you stupid? These people need our help. They need our help. They're out here, going into all of these disgusting things. The society's evil. I mean, these people's daughters are being put on OnlyFans. Their sons are gay. It's evil. It's all evil. People are only being treated as sort of objects of economic value. Like, this stuff is evil, and these people need our help. And you want to dialogue with them? No, you're evil for doing that. You're gonna go before Christ one day. He's gonna look you in the eye. You're gonna look at him, and he's going to tell you that you did not carry out what I told you to discipline all nations, all peoples. Not to maybe convert some individuals. No, nations and peoples. That's what we do. We go in to places and we convert the whole place. And we make the whole place Catholic. And then they're Catholic for 1,000 years. That's what we do. But no, these guys want to go in and dialogue with like the barbarians who are sacrificing their children. Are you serious? That's what you want to do? It's pathetic. You have the truth. It's not these people's fault. Well, obviously they're culpable for many of their sins, but they're blind. They need your help. You're basically like a doctor who goes in and sees this person with cancer, kind of wants a dialogue about like cancer and stuff, rather than healing them and giving them medicine. Like, what are you dialoguing about? What are you chatting? What are you chit-chatting about? What are you're assuming? You're assuming that they're completely fine. They're completely healthy. They're healthy when it comes to the natural law. They just don't have Jesus in their life. They just need this like little push right there. No, they actually need the church. They need divine revelation, or they'll die. They're going to die and go to hell. Do you recognize that? And not only they're going to do that, but throughout their entire life, ruling this or that country, being in this or that position of power, they're going to exert their evil influence where they've corrupted the natural law in their hearts. They're going to take that and they're going to exert it in the way in which they rule their businesses, the way in which they rule their families, the way in which they rule their countries, the way in which they rule their states, the way in which they rule their social clubs. And they're going to spread evil throughout the world. Do you recognize that? And you don't want to convert these people. Because, Pope Francis said to be nice.